Hey fellow golfers, hope you're keeping well. I'm going to do a quick top 10 hints for you that'll help you in your golf game. Soon to follow will be top 10 keys, and then top 10 tips and adjustments for seniors to help seniors who don't have the flexibility that they once had to improve their swing, to improve their accuracy, to have more fun out of the game, and to lower their score in the process. So let's start with top 10 hints. The first one, try not only on the practice range, but even out on the course, to do 3/4 shots. So if you want to take a club extra and do 3/4 shots. Indeed, I take only half a set out, and the half a set forces me to have a longer club with a shorter swing, 3/4 swing for a particular yardage. So, as an example, my 7-iron goes 150 yards. So if I'm using then a 6-iron, I would do a 3/4 shot for the same distance. It also means you control your swing much better. You don't have to swing quite as hard. You are focused on the direction. So, first hint, practice 3/4 shots. A second hint, have some specific practice goals. So when you go onto the range, or even you're in practicing the bunker, or on practice areas of courses, have a specific goal in mind. So are you trying to practice that chip without breaking your wrist down, weight forward, and hands further down the club, a bit more upright? Get that right. Have a specific practice goal each time. Do 10 or 15 shots of each, perhaps around the green. Or is it you're trying, like in the previous hint, the 3/4 shots with a longer club to see how you can control the ball better and not be as aggressive with your swing? You could even go the other way. Try a shorter club and then do a much faster and harder swing and just see what the difference is. So have a specific practice goal. It might be a certain yardage that you want to try to reach. Try 2 or 3 clubs around the club that you normally use for that yardage, so the one above and one below, and see how you get either to that yardage or keep at least on line with the point that you're trying to reach. So that way you focus on your correct swing path, your correct elbow and wrist movements, and still can use different clubs. So have a specific goal each time in mind, is to use different clubs each time. So not just go out there and hit 100 balls on the range with a driver. Start with your wedge and do a few short shots. Think chips, think a fuller wedge, move on to your 9-iron, move on perhaps to your 7-iron, move on to your hybrid, do 10 shots of each, collect your data if you can, using one or other of the tools that I've mentioned before, whether it's through LiveView or whether it's Mevo, and I'll do a review of Mevo soon. Maybe even use some of the practice aids that I just covered, the armband, the hanger, and then move on to your 5 or 3 wood, depending what you carry, and then onto your driver. So do a number of practice shots, 10 or so, with each club or with a range of clubs. Don't just hit with one or two particular clubs, because then when you're out on the course and you have to change clubs and that you haven't been practicing much, you may not have the same confidence level with it, and you may not have practices as well. Moving from an iron to a hybrid is slightly different, from a wedge to a longer iron is different, to a 3 or 5 fairway wood is different, to a driver is certainly different. So you really ought to give each of these areas a little bit of practice. I know it sounds crazy, and maybe seem very obvious, but aim at a specific target each time. That doesn't mean just the end point. Where do you want it to land? So in a chip, obviously, if you're trying to roll it out a little bit, depending which club you're taking, if you're taking a larger wedge, 60 degree, 52 degree, then of course you're rolling it out less, so it's closer to the final target. But still, you have a point in mind. So have a point in mind. It could be that your face is too closed, your face is too open. It could be that you're turning your wrist a little too much. You maybe need to open the club a little bit, open your foot, for example, on a chip, and try that slight variation. Go for a specific point. Look at that point as you come through. Are you getting it there? Try a few shots. Aim at a specific target. Ideally, a landing target and then a final target. Very obvious point, but so often forgotten. People just hit and hope it goes there. It could be that it's a question of alignment. For example, I have the tendency to have my shoulders too open, so I have to remember that. If, when I'm looking at a target, I get the distance, but it's going, in my case, right, I know that I've probably got my shoulders too open and I need to square up a little more. The next hint, use alignment aids. Whether it's a piece of foam or a towel, as in some of the tips that I've showed you, alignment sticks. You'll remember the one where I put rubber bands on my two arms, either the back or the front. It's a way for me to check whether I'm squaring up properly. If you want to practice a draw and you have this as your target line, then you want to do a draw, perhaps with your club slightly more closed, but your target line is the alignment stick that is facing, in my case, left. So I'm coming down through left and of course all the way around, but because my face is very slightly closed, it'll force that baby draw. So use alignment sticks and alignment aids to help you. Practice those. I guarantee you it'll start making a difference. You will also begin to know where you're going wrong. And then when you're on the course and it goes slightly off, think of those positions of alignment aids in your head as you set up. And that will perhaps help you more easily make those corrections during a game. Have a specific swing thought in mind. Now, you don't want to have too many swing thoughts in mind, and you've practiced various tips and drills. You may be thinking, oh, I've got to focus on my elbow, I've got to focus on my alignment, I've got to focus on my squaring my shoulders, I've got to focus on my wrist and elbow facing the target as I come through. But figure out of all the things, what's the one swing thought that helps you most get either a proper balance, a proper swing path? Is it the lead shoulder on the back shoulder with your starting takeaway? Is that the one that helps you make that turn and come through? Is it something else? Is it keeping this back elbow into your body as you come through and inside your outside arm, so that helps you have that shallow swing path? What's the one swing thought that would most help you, whether it's for the driver or the rest of your game? So just carry one key swing thought, and you may want to try a couple of different things that helps you be more consistent. And then keep that swing thought as your key checkpoint as you go through. Another hint is get feedback to yourself, particularly through video. Have a look at my clips on LiveView. You know, it helped me a lot by just the point I'd made earlier of my shoulders not being square to the target. I saw when I took the video clip that I was too open. So my club was facing the right direction, but my shoulders were aligned right, and then, not surprising, I was hitting right. So get feedback, compare that with other swings. So you may want to download some pro swings of different sorts. Even Lady Pros is actually really useful for us seniors. And I've done that. I've downloaded several clips. I've shortened them to one or two key points that I think are very useful for me. For example, the takeaway. And then where does the wrist start to bend in order to create that L? And then when does it actually get released? In fact, it increases as they go onto the front foot. And then it's only down when they're around parallel that it gets released. So I looked at that. On LiveView, you can actually, with LiveView Studio, you can actually put your swing, 2 or 3 second swing, next to somebody else's, even a McIlroy. You're not necessarily going to get to his level, but you can use it at certain checkpoints. So get feedback, visual feedback, and compare. You will no doubt figure from the earlier hints that I assumed you knew your numbers when I was talking about using a higher and lower club to practice. Well, if you don't know your numbers, you're in a little bit of trouble with that hint too. So one of the key hints is know your numbers. Use some sort of measuring device, and I'll do some reviews of Swing Caddy. I'll do some reviews of Mevo. Both are very good to know your numbers. So is my 7-iron with a 3/4 swing generally going 140 yards, plus or minus 5 yards? If you know that consistently, you have much more confidence when you get onto the course and you have that sort of distance. You immediately know it's the 7-iron. You don't have to fuss around. Trust your swing. Go with that club. But know your numbers, at least for each club, approximately plus or minus 5 to 10 yards. That'll give you greater accuracy, greater confidence, feel less rushed, because you're confident that you've got the right club in your hand. Now, you probably saw that I was hitting the ground, even with my practice swing. People tend to do the practice swing and not hit the ground. Well, that's not exactly how you're going to hit the ball. So you're going to hit the ground in either immediately after the ball, or you're going to sweep if it's a hybrid or certainly a fairway wood. So do that with your practice. Actually hit the ground and try and choose a specific point. You can even draw a chalk line, spray a little bit of chalk line with even some sunscreen spray. And just as you practice, hit that line. Then you may need to adjust, whether it's your feet, whether it's your angle of your club in your setup. Hit the ground as you practice. Since the short game is so important, I thought a hint on chipping, without going into more details, although I've covered it in other tips and drills, is really important. So for chipping, just 2 or 3 quick things. Hands down on the grip. Hands further down, not at the top. More upright. Weight on the front foot. Eyes in front. Your foot slightly open if you wish, your front foot. And so for chipping, just think more upright, a bit more like putting. Weight on the front foot, hands down, the club is more upright, you're not down like a bit more for one of your mid irons. You're really thinking of it's like a putter. Very quick fix, very quick hint to be consistent with your chipping. How about that for the top 10 hints for the day? Get those under your belt. Let me know how you get on the course, whether any of these have been useful, helped you correct things. Let me know if other hints that you have found elsewhere have been better or valuable to you. Share, do subscribe. Catch you up on the next round.